All right, guys, welcome tonight. Today we're going over with the Reliq, and we're kind of just going over. I didn't have a chance to go super crazy and in-depth with the Reliq and get into like a full set, but I think I've figured enough out to show that this is going to be a real workhorse for the system and will definitely bring an interesting paradigm, right? So I think in this view I should be able to show you some things, including a zoomed in version of the display. Let me know if that is not visible enough for you guys, and we'll take a look at it a little differently or something, or I'll just do my best to explain it. But as you can see, it is kind of ginormous. It's a big 16 by 16 grid with a beautiful display on top and a row of buttons and encoders on top, which you can't really see in this lighting, and lots of nice buttons. All the buttons are maybe a little hard to explain, but they're not silicone on the side. They're like almost aluminum feeling, very thick, maybe plastic, which feels super nice under the touch. And then on the side, we have a little joystick encoder and a little beat encoder on the left side over here. And we'll kind of go into what makes the Reliq special, because it's not just a sequencer, it's also a 16 by 16 matrix. And it's still in infancy. I just got mine from my Indiegogo campaign from, I think, almost 2 years ago now. It's been a long time coming, so I'm pretty excited to actually finally have it in the rack. Speaking of the rack, in the rack here, this module here is maybe a little hard to see, but it kind of looks like this. And it has 16 inputs, 16 outputs, and then 16 sets of CV and 16 gates. So lots of 16s there, but definitely a lot of inputs and outputs and a lot of CV and gate opportunity here. It also has clock out, which I'm using to clock my Matrixbrute right now, and it seems to be working really well. All right, so one thing about the inputs and outputs here is that you can take an input and route it to anything, right? So to that regard, as we look back over here, when we go to matrix view here, this is the input and output matrix, like 16 inputs, 16 outputs. So in this case, I have a stereo pair here, which is my WinSynth. Sorry about that. My dog is trying to eat off the counter, apparently. All right, so the first set here is the WinSynth, and that is being routed, as you can see here, to 3 different sets of stereo outputs. And that's because the bottom right is my actual main output, which I'm sending over to my streaming computer, and the next ones over are a delay and reverb in the rack, right? So I have my Strymon, Starlab, and Magneto tied in as a stereo pair, and I can kind of send things in and out through things. And you can see here down below, we have the 16 by 16 points kind of mapped out on here. And if you wanted to like make a connection, I could, for instance, just click it here and it connects the 2 points. So pretty neato. But with this setup here, where we have this is the delay and this is the reverb, and like this is the bass drum. So the bass drum I have going right to the output, and I have some of these going right to the output and right to my delay and reverb, which then get fed back into the output. So it makes you able to do some really interesting things by including effects in the loop. And if you want, you can actually sequence this matrix while you're playing as well. So if you wanted to, you could set this up and bring effects in and out, or even use these inputs and outputs for CV or gate or anything, and even feed them back into each other and do all sorts of weird stuff, right? I played around a little bit with it, but it's super fun. But if I wanted to like take the bass drum out, right, I just like undid the routing there. Or I can do it here. Take the bass drum in and take the bass drum out. So in that regard, anything that's going through the matrix, you can kind of route here and come in and out. Now this isn't a true matrix mixer because you don't have attenuation at each mix point. You have attenuation at inputs and outputs. So you can kind of bust things together and all that, but you don't have individual level control at each mix point. Only the inputs and only the outputs. So you can kind of bust things together and overall do it. And it has a lot of headroom, so you can still do a lot, but it's not a true matrix mixer because in this regard, we only have 32 VCAs versus if you had 16 by 16, it's just a ginormous amount, right? And if we go here, this is the mix view of the inputs and outputs, right? So if I wanted to like take the bass drum down, all the way down, I can take the bass drum level here, or bring it all the way in. And same thing with the outputs here. I can do some weird stuff with like taking out my left or right side. And like I said, all this is sequenceable, right? So you can do a lot of really cool things with that. All right, so that's the matrix view, the matrix mix view. And one thing about all these buttons on top is that they're both single press and momentary press. So if I like hold it down, I can just like look at it real fast. When I release it, it goes back to the page you're on. Which is useful if like you're in sequence view and you like want to look at it at the mixing real fast. You can come over here, change mixing levels, and let go, and you're back right where you were, which is super useful. And so that brings us over to the sequence view here, and there's 16 tracks, right? Coming down the side, we have buttons again that you probably can't see very well, but you can see that little 3 here, and if I kind of press 1, 2, 3. You can see we're going down a list of buttons here. And those are the actual tracks that we're selecting. And so in that regard, the tracks are up and down, and left and right is the grid. And it's one measure at a time. What's wrong? All right, so yeah, we have tracks vertically, and to the left and right we have one measure 4 beats at a time, up to 16 subdivisions, right? And if you want, you can do finer sequencing than the 16 here. You can zoom in, and you can see I zoomed in on just this one track. So now we have 30-second notes on the grid, and that track itself is running in like double time versus the other ones. To that regard, you can change how many beats, how many sheets, which is the measures each track has. So up, oh man, this is kind of weird for me to look at. All right, up here we have sheets, and we have 2 and 32. That's how many steps and how many sheets. So 2 representing basically 2 measures here. And you can kind of see the display kind of going back and forth on 2 yellowish little bars right here. And that's indicating which sheet you're on. All right, so each track as it has a note on the sequence, will show up here. It's not showing you like a piano roll. This is just arbitrary note information as we go from left to right. So you can see kind of easiest is maybe this bass drum down here. I can easily add in, right, like all the bass drums. Right, so in that regard, it's pretty easy to like switch them out and do things on the fly here, because you can easily just right, and for percussion, this is really good. You can have 4 lanes of percussion here and do your whole percussion line. And on top of that, we are just looking at basically one sequence. We can also tie multiple sequences together via clips, which is kind of what this is. So think of it like in clips in Bitwig or Ableton, where I can kind of switch between them. And if I want, I can kind of select a whole row at one time too. So that's pretty cool. On top of that, you can assign each clip to have a next clip in it. So if you want, you can do like some interesting chains or have it like randomize a clip in a row here or something. So you can get really complicated clip behavior in here as well. The next view are the keys. All right, so it is split in kind of half, and these are the notes that you input, and this is the velocity, because the keys are not velocity sensitive. So you can kind of like set your velocity here, and then play. Right? And it has a couple different modes. Right, so that's pretty cool. Garen asked if it has an internal sequencer as well as being able to control the DAW. Yeah, so this is all being sequenced on board the Reliq right now. I'm doing no integration with the DAW. In fact, if we look at my DAW real fast, I basically just have audio coming in here, and then this is a channel where I'm just basically routing my Linnstrument back over to the Reliq so I can like arm it and play it. Right, so I can send MIDI to it and receive MIDI back from it. It also has 3 MIDI inputs in the back, MIDI input or outputs, which can be TRS-A, I believe, for MIDI type. So you have USB host mode, USB normal mode, where you can plug it in as a sequencer or, you know, like a normal controller to a computer, or it can host an actual keyboard. So if you want to run it standalone. And then it has 3 TRS MIDI A inputs and outputs. To that regard, when we go to a track, up here, I'm having an input and an output. And so the input right now is set to USB MIDI in, which is my Linnstrument in this case. And the output, which is set to CV. Can be MIDI USB, MIDI out 1, 2, or 3, or CV. CV being the breakout box. And so currently set to CV. All right, so the sequence and clip view. And the keys here, the keys let you kind of like play notes and record them live onto a clip internally, and that sequence is being what's recorded there. Again, not in the DAW, but in here. But now you're like, okay, let's say I recorded a bunch of stuff, like I have this track here that has these notes and I want to like change them. I can select them, select the track, so I'm on this track here. And go to the pitch knob above the pitch slider. And now we have like a piano roll. And you can kind of see, I mean, it's kind of going with the 2 beats here. And each of the tracks I can kind of set to a different speed as well, so they don't have to run so fast all the time. I can slow them down. Or speed them up here in this case. So that's really cool. And as far as recording sheets or, you know, like measures and all this kind of stuff, it can go like a ginormous length, right? Like if you can basically make them as long as you want to, I think it's like 1,024 measures or something like that. So pretty much more than anything we need. And if you're in key input mode, you can kind of see here, there's notes here. And if you're in edit mode, there's basically like a follow mode and a edit mode. The follow mode will follow the line of the current sequence or whatever. And in edit mode, it kind of stays here. And then if I want, there's like the encoders above each of the grid lines. I can kind of come up here and change. Right, so you can kind of like quickly go in there and change it once you have it. I'm working, like I said, the software on this is still very, I'd call it beta. There's still a lot of things missing from what they want to implement, and that'll come out after they have this original batch of hardware out. But there's gonna be like a step entry mode and some more like controller assisted entry modes, so you can quickly put in stepped inputs. Because right now the easiest way is to hit record and try and play in time and have it quantized. But it's not necessarily the fastest if you want to do like a quick pattern in 16th notes or something like that. you know, it is what it is. Software's getting better. Along with each of these notes, you have things like probability and trigger occurrence and micro timing left and right, even within that 30-second note. So you can do all sorts of stuff. It doesn't have full automation support for like MPE yet, but it does have like, you can automate CCs and stuff in here as well. Which brings us to our next thing, which is the LFOs. So the LFOs can be routed to CCs or CVs, right? So if we come back here and we look here and we have those CVs A and B for each track, I can just plug a cable in here, have CV A coming out and go somewhere, right? I'm like, well, let's say I just want a time synced LFO. I just go in here. Sorry, I can just come in here and set this LFO up here to be time synced and output to CV A, for instance. And there's a lot of custom LFO shapes in here, and they're going to bring in custom LFO shapes later point. And these LFOs are actually sequenceable as well. So, and you can sync it or let it run free. If you sync it, you can run... I'm sorry, if you have it free, you can set the actual hertz that it goes at. And if it's synced, you can set, you know, your quarter note, your 16th note or whatever, and your LFO will be in sync with that. And it'll come out and do it. So it's really super awesome. Will says this is really a beast if you want both synths and modular. Yeah. The thing I'm kind of demonstrating here is that it's really well suited for modular because of the breakout box, but everything that I'm doing here also can just be routed back out to MIDI, you know, 3 MIDI devices, or route it to MIDI back to your DAW over channels and do everything in here, right? So it's a great hands-on controller for that, for everything. Yeah, so Garen, the LFO is super handy, and you can route it to all sorts of things, including like probability and this kind of stuff. And like I said, you can actually sequence the LFOs, so like crazy. Next is the envelopes, and again, envelopes can be sent to CCs or they can be sent out to your CC of your breakout box. And it's just kind of your classic ADSR right now. But I think they're planning on adding some more stuff onto it. You know, after software development kind of kicks off a little bit. And again, the destination on these guys, you can do currently CVs, but I think there is a way, if the track is on CCs, also to send this out to automation on CCs. Which brings us to the next one, which is DAW control. And basically this will turn into one big Ableton Live controller where you have individual control of all your tracks, and you can do clip launching and all that from here. Since I'm using bitwig, bitwig is not fully supported yet, but it's on the roadmap and I'm waiting for that. And then you'll be able to like use this controller to actually launch your clips from here in your DAW as well. So it'll be full DAW control as well as the internal sequencer. And you can see the track button here that's red, for instance. Your right hand side has a bunch of buttons as well. This is play, stop, and record down here. And then you have copy and paste, edit and undo, mute and solo, select note effects. You can like put arpeggiators and stuff on things, and some additional things up here for like left, right, and save, and a little joystick guy, right? So on the left hand side though, the little red guy says it's armed, and that arming is so that my MIDI input that is routed to it can basically be monitored live. And then if I hit record down here, anything I play will basically be overdubbed on the current sequence that's playing. Right, so it's only one measure now. And so I just slowed it down a whole lot, even with one measure, and put it in, right? Because I don't need the full 30-second resolution, and just slowed it way down, and you can do all sorts of crazy crap in there. But let me overdub a little bit more, and then I'll just turn the probability down. And I think maybe we've hit a bug here because I can't disarm the arm and change some things. So, like I said, software is kind of beta, not really meant for full live use here. Not quite sure what's happening, but yeah. It also just might be user error because I'm not really fully comfortable with this yet either. Yeah, I think we crashed something on here because I can't change the tracks. All right, well, I think maybe we'll call it here then. I just wanted to give kind of a brief kind of view of how I'm planning on using this, which is, I guess I wanted to talk about how the voices are in the rack as well before we close it out, because this is controlling mostly modular stuff. All right, so in here I have a couple different tracks running and the bass drum. The bass drum oh man, I think maybe we're gonna have to call it here because the screen is not responding anymore. So regrettably, I think that'll be it for it then. Anyway, in the rack itself, I have 2 chainsaws that are running through a low-pass gate. That low-pass gate is being 2 of the plucks. I also have the double helix wavetable oscillator from Pittsburgh Modular that I just got that's going through a local florist flanger and filter of crows. And then I also have a rings in here as well. So all those are going, and I also have tied in a Matrixbrute down here. And all this is kind of running through the Symphonian, and the Symphonian allows for more harmonic sequencing as well, which eventually will also be sequenced by the Reliq. So I'd like to go more into all this, but regrettably, like I said, we've frozen today on the display. I'm going to let the Reliq guys kind of see this, and maybe they have something that they're already aware of. They're still in active development for the software, like I said, and kind of releasing things on a monthly basis, and have a lot of bug fixes already coming out. So anyway, if you guys have any more questions, maybe I can field them. I can even restart the Reliq if you guys have anything super crazy that you guys want to know about, or if you want to talk more about my Eurorack system here, let me know. Yeah, Quasar said make sure to end it before he gets to the drink and a snack. Yeah. So again, this main arpeggiator here, Garen. This main arpeggiator you're hearing right now is actually from the Matrixbrute and the double helix here. So Garen, I was just telling them, looks like the Reliq display is actually frozen. So unless I wanted to reboot that, I think we're gonna call it here. So if you guys have any more questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably call it. On Lambda ask if the Reliq synthesis anything on its own or if it's just a controller. It has no audio output capability at all, so it is just a controller. To that regard, the breakout module here has a lot of, sequencing CV outputs and all that kind of stuff, but nope, it doesn't have any audio output except for the LFOs, which can get up to like 60 hertz if you want. So if you really wanted to, you can get some low bass sine wave type stuff out of it, but it's definitely not a synthesizer. Yeah, Garen, I'm guessing probably over the next year they're going to do some really heavy software development on this because a lot of features are still missing, especially like on the generative and sequencing side and all that. Overall, it's very functional right now, but I think they need to work on the stability a little bit and all that kind of stuff. But I think they've been kind of balls to the wall on just getting the hardware out over the last little bit. So now the hardware is out. Once they have all the Indiegogo campaign fulfilled, I think they'll kind of like heavy hand into the software side. At least that's the hope, because it's super cool. Anyway, I'll try and also figure out a better layout here, because I know this is very busy here with the Reliq in view, the rack in view up here, and the Linnstrument Micro Monster and all this kind of stuff. Maybe it works, I don't know. People like LEDs. But the Reliq over here is pretty snazzy. All right, any last questions? I'll call it here. That's 45 minutes.